It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
Welcome to Dialogues with Dan, heard on Rockland World Radio every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to check out the archives by clicking on the Programs and Archives button located on our menu bar. And now the host of Dialogues with Dan, Mr. Dan Windheim.
Sure. Hi everyone, this is Dan. If you will remember, last week I spoke with a man about past wars and conflicts that the U.S. has been involved in over the last 200 years. And that was all well and good. And today I'm speaking with another man about helping those injured veterans and survivors of war and how they're affected. Yeah, I'm speaking with Christopher Thiesing, who is a counselor for the Small Business Development Center of Rockland County. I'd like to introduce Christopher Thiesing. Hello, Christopher.
Good evening, Dan, and thank you for having us back.
Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, Chris, could you tell everyone about your work with the Small Business Development Center, where it is, what it is, who you work with, and all that?
Of course. First, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. The Small Business Development Center is operated here in Rockland County. At least that's where I am located. It is a national program, in part funded by the SBA. And what our mission is to help businesses to grow, to help entrepreneurs to start their own business, to help them connect with the business community at large, to help them write and prepare for a business launch and or to help their existing business grow.
Yes, and that could be anyone, not necessarily injured or disabled.
That is correct. That is correct.
Yes. Maybe could you speak about some of your successes?
Absolutely. Earlier before the show we were talking, and it brings up a lot of very fond memories. Not all of our clients are total successes, but in my duties at the SBDC, I have been granted the duties of helping out the veterans, and in particular the disabled veterans have been, as you know, for the past 20-odd years, a project of mine. People ask why. I tell them, well, real simple. After a life-threatening injury, and certainly life-altering, when I graduated from Helen Hayes Hospital and realized, yeah, I would be able to walk again, thank God, I was able to find and network with a bunch of different gentlemen, and what I found was, in helping others,
Yes.
I was helping myself.
Yes, so your injury wasn't military related.
No, that wasn't.
Yes.
I do have family members, past and present, all accounted for about 8 Purple Hearts. Right now my nephew is in training. He has told us that he's set to deploy sometime in September.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, I get it. We all need to chip in and help. My brother-in-law was a Vietnam vet. I saw what had happened to our generation, the Vietnam veteran generation. And it really disturbed me deeply to see these individuals, like my brother-in-law, who came back and was spat on, called baby killer. Today, that atmosphere is much different, thank God. I think the message has gotten through.
Yes.
It's not about the war, it's about the warriors and
Yes.
trying to help them.
Yes, so you have your work with Small Businesses Development Center.
Correct.
Is that your main focus? Well, I know you also have Bear Hill, which is, tell us about Bear Hill.
Yes. Through my work with the not-for-profit Bear Hill, as you pointed out, I met a number of individuals who offered to help, one of them being Tom Morley at the Small Business Development Center. He is the regional director there. And through various contacts and things, we began to work on several projects. One of them included a trip to China to sell the Chinese certain equipment at the time. But Tom had come to one of our events, fundraising events, and had seen the wonderful work that we're doing with the veterans, with the disabled veterans in particular. When their veteran specialist retired, Tom had asked me if I would be interested in taking on that position. I immediately jumped on it because I knew with the federal government behind them, with New York State government behind them, with SUNY sponsoring their offices, that they had a winning combo, and why try and compete in a sense? They've got the resources. I've got the acumen in this particular area. It was, as I've said to my boss in the past, it was a marriage made in heaven. It was meant to be.
Excellent. So you have your work with the SBDC, you work with Bear Hill, and you combine the two. And so I'm wondering, what do veterans or wounded veterans want? What do they want?
Well, that's the $50 question. Not up to me to find out. It is usually the caseworkers that will reach out to us with a specific question or a specific request. What we do is we basically will give them introductions to the services that are available, that are out there and available, that we can provide, that we can help connect them with. When a client, a wounded veteran, comes to them and says, hey, I'd like to start a business.
Yes.
Wow, I know the guy. And they will bring them in or recommend that they come to us. At that point, what I do, it's a rather lengthy process at times. Sometimes it's just a simple several questions that need to be answered, but more often than not, it's help that we can provide them with, such as helping them to write and prepare a business plan, which today is absolutely crucial. It's the who, what, where, when, and why. It's the stepping stones that, although fluid at times when you're in a business, it's the stepping stones, those milestones that a person would need to achieve specific goals. I need to have this space, this address. I need to get a website going. We can help with all of those things. That is my specialty, the media. But we have other, my colleagues, for instance, they're aces in preparing the financials for a loan. Okay, there are specific guidelines for that as well, but in our initial intake, we call it, we educate the veteran as to what is necessary.
Yes.
Because some of those veterans are eligible for particular types of funding, we give them education. If they haven't got it already, most of them know what's available to them in terms of money. And how much it is, and how. So what we do is we try to help them formulate a plan that would take into consideration that particular budget that will be allowed. A lot of times they don't know exactly how much is going to be there. It depends on the business plan.
Yes. So your clients,
Yes.
are they located locally, or could they be like other states, counties?
I understand, yes. Well, the SBDC has locations in most of the counties here in New York State. And although we do get crossover, okay,
Yes.
If they're from Jersey or Connecticut, they have their own SBDC.
Right.
If there was somebody who is living in Jersey but has a business here in New York, we can certainly help them and have. But there are outfits in Montana, for instance, North Dakota, South Dakota. They're all over the country.
Yeah.
We do wonderful work, and I'm very proud to say it's one of the only federal programs that is accountable in terms of giving back. We're able to show to the taxpayer, hey, for every dollar you've spent in our program, we're literally giving back 10, because we're helping these folks to start their business, pay taxes, they're off the public dole. So when you look at the big picture, it does pay.
Yeah, could you give their contact info? Maybe the website.
Absolutely.
And maybe like a basic number, like 1-800.
Of course,
number?
yes. Well, on my card here,
Yes.
a number of different ways you can contact. But yes, the easiest for most of us today would be just to go to the SBA.gov. If you are in our area, the website will steer you to our regional location, which is our office is located over at the RCC Brucker building on
Yes.
campus. We're on the lower level, so we're perfectly accessible for all types of individuals, wheelchair accessible, and so on. If we do have satellite offices in Westchester. We have one starting soon, I believe, in Fordham. So that'll be really nice, because we'll be able to take advantage of their business school has offered to give us a couple of interns. So we're building, we're constantly leveraging those assets to help our clients in more ways.
Perfect. At this time, maybe we could speak a little. I know you're very active with the Wounded Warriors, that you have events, recreation events, fishing, hunting, skiing.
Yes, yes.
Maybe could you talk about
Sure.
past events?
Sure. And again, this is what I do, I guess one could say, to enrich my own life. Because what I've found through doing these events is that by giving, I get back so much more. When you see a guy pick up a fishing rod, or a lady picking up a fishing rod that never has, and they catch a fish, or they're literally able to share that time without all of life's distractions out there on a lake or a river with their children, with their significant others. The smiles come back, they relax. So for me, I continue to do that on my weekends and my days off sometimes, I admit. But it's a wonderful program that I developed, as you know, about 20 years ago. And we've taken hundreds, thousands of people out, mostly veterans, but today we also include the disabled coming out of Helen Hayes. That program has grown tremendously, although I wasn't able to do it this past year because I was on my honeymoon.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you, my friend.
Great news.
Yes, yes. So it was one of those wonderful times that we were able to spend. After 20 years, my wife had gone through some life-altering illness. She had cancer, and both of us having young children and being divorced, a single father or a single mother, it was too complicated. So what we began to do, and she began to accompany me and realize that, wow, this is a lot of fun, Chris.
Yes.
And by giving back, what we've been able to do, usually we have the main event is in June because it's a free fishing day in New York. You don't need a license, no permits, and you can go anywhere in New York and fish free for the day. Actually, it's a weekend without a license, without fear of getting arrested for not having the proper paperwork. We do one-on-one trips. Like I said to you, there was a client I had some years back, Dan, I'm not going to mention his last name, because the program here at SBDC is confidential, and of course, like I said, it's free, which a lot of people don't realize. Dan now has got his own...
The other Dan.
Yes, the other Dan,
The other Dan.
now has his own guide service in Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We had taken him out on one of our trips on the Hudson River here in Nyack, and we met through that. He was so grateful, and he was like, oh, this is a terrific, I haven't fished in a long time, but I love fishing. And he said, we did an interview with him, and we remained friends over the years, and it was fun because just about, I'd say 3 months ago, he emailed me. He got his guide license and opened up his own fishing business. Of course, he said, hey, if you have any veterans that you'd like to take out, we're here. So here's a disabled vet that started his own business. He was inspired by our programs, and now he's giving it back. He's paying it forward because of what we were able to do for him.
Super.
And he's running a very successful business. Yeah.
Beautiful. So what would you say disabled vets want outside of jobs? What do they want?
They want a life. They want a meaningful life. Of course, when they get to that point and realize that, hey, I cannot have the life I had anymore.
Yes.
We have a little metaphor. We give them a blank book and we say, okay, guy, open that book. Okay, you see the blank pages? Well, those are the new chapters in your life. It's far from over. It's just begun.
Yes.
So some get it right away. I mean, we try to do this to spur their imagination, to say, look, just turn the page. Now it's time to start a different chapter. It's not a different life. Yes, you've had losses, and in some cases, severe losses. But when you see a guy out there walking up a dock with a prosthetic leg, missing an arm, carrying his fishing gear, and when you offer him a sit, no, I've got this. I've got to learn to do this on my own. Exactly. My heart just leaps. I was like, my God, look, as you know, I've had 14 operations. I've had a number of life-altering injuries myself. And there were days when I began to slip into that poor me. And this is why it began, because I said, my goodness, who am I to complain? Look at these guys who've lost so much more. And they're grateful just to be there.
Sure. That's very right on. Yes, maybe you could speak about some of your sponsors or partners at Bear Hill, maybe the SBDC.
Absolutely.
Even
well, like I
Wounded
say,
Warriors.
yes. Well, the Wounded Warriors, Al Giordano was one of the founding members, and he was born and raised in this area up in Stony Point. A sweetheart of a guy. He is spread so thin. I mean, the headquarters is down in Florida. He lives in New York State, so it's difficult for him to nail him down. He's got so many different things going on. But when and if we need him, he's there. If he needs us, he knows where to find us. And if he has a veteran who has a particular interest in the out-of-doors or has a veteran that is in need of a business plan or help in focusing on a particular business plan, he knows to call us, okay? Yes. You had asked me for the phone number before. Aside from our website, New York State website as well. We have the 845 number, 356-6065. And you can ask for me, Chris. All right? Chris Thiessen.
Bear Hill.
That's for the Small Business Development Center.
Oh.
Okay?
You're
So, you were saying
some other
sponsored.
things.
And, I like to think that, as I had said earlier in the show, SBDC is the main focus. Now, as far as the partnerships that we've developed over the years, Helen Hayes, I had mentioned one.
Yes.
Folks like, or organizations like Gander Mountain, Cabela's, Field and Stream, individuals like Jay Cassell from Skyhorse Publishing, John Field, the author of this book. A number of individuals have given freely because they recognize the value of the work. The list is ongoing, but I'd really like to just send a shout out to thank Thomas Morley in particular.
Yes.
He's done a wonderful job at bringing all of these folks together, myself included, to nurture this program. And although, there's a whole lot more to do, we've been very busy with the Sandy businesses that were affected by the Sandy storm.
Really?
We're wrapping that up as we speak and hope to get back to the bread and butter of the program. But right now, we've got a couple more trips planned for the fall. I'll be going away next week up to Cape Cod for I guess you call it a workation.
Yeah.
I'll be helping another disabled gentleman who's got a specific line of fishing rods that he's been manufacturing, and I'll be helping him to do some video work on a boat from a friend of his. So in a way, it's a trip, but we're going to be doing some things for his website.
Oh, excellent.
Which is also part of my job here at the SBDC. So
yeah, it sounds like
I just
you're
hope
you're spread around.
Well, yes.
Yes.
My work is my life, and my life is my work in a sense, and it's enriching. Let me put it that way. I enjoy it. I'm not a 9-to-5er.
Yes.
I never was, although I have to be there at 9, and
Right.
sometimes I'm a little late. But
Oh.
Tom and Jim King, our state our state director, they know. Hey, this is we're not here punching clocks. We're here to accommodate our clients
Yes.
and our clients' needs, and whatever it takes.
How is all this paid for? Like as far as
Well, Bear
Like-
Hill pays for the therapy part of things. We take
Yes.
care of that. Bear Hill being myself and the board of directors and the contributors. But the business part of all of this is paid through grants from the SBA, the New York State. Really was wonderful. Senator Carlucci and, of course, our Assemblyman Ken Zabrowski were absolutely wonderful this year. They went to bat for us. They got us an increase, which was the largest increase we'd seen in many
that's
years.
amazing.
Much needed, much needed. And that enabled us to continue getting our messages out there, starting some new workshops that we've been working with this gentleman, Pat. Again, I'd mentioned him earlier, I think before the show with you, a West Point graduate who is absolutely wonderful as a business coach. So when we've got a situation where the client requires more attention and more detailed attention, Pat has been a wonderful go-to guy and is willing to step up and donate and dedicate his time.
That's great news. Yeah, so maybe could you, before we end, could you touch on the needs or, the need or duty of family members, friends?
Wow.
What role do they play?
Dan, that is an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked it. Family members, friends need to understand that when somebody is injured, they come back. the doctors may say to them, oh, he'll be fine in 6 to 8 weeks. They need to understand that perhaps the injury can't be seen. Maybe it is. Maybe it's very obvious to them.
Yeah.
All right? Like some people look at you and I and they say, well, we understand, Dan, you've had this horrible accident and, you've had traumatic brain injury. Myself, I had spinal cord injury, but hey, we're functioning. We're doing it, right?
Right.
We're doing it. But they look at others and they walk down the street and they don't recognize this poor soul is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder or worse. Maybe they lost a limb. It's easy to empathize when it is visible. When it is not, that's the problem. And what we're beginning to see is a lot of, again, like we did after Vietnam, alcoholism, drug abuse. Why? Because people begin to feel detached. I can't talk to my wife about this. I can't tell my friends I'm scared. I'm feeling alone. What we need to get across is, A, you're not alone. B, there is plenty of help out there to assist any way possible, to try and engage them, to talk to them. One of the stories I had mentioned in the last show that we did about a year or two ago
Right.
was a gentleman. He was a medic, much like my dad, who, by the way, just passed away.
Oh,
And I'll never forget him telling me about, and he was a Bronze Star recipient, he was dragging his fellow wounded soldiers out of the tent after an RPG came and landed right in the middle of the hospital tent. This was in Iraq. He drugged the last person out. It was because he had to charge back in. It was on fire, et cetera, et cetera. As he was dragging, he realized that it was his captain who was extremely light. He felt that when he looked down, it was only part of his body. He had never told his wife that because he didn't want to scare her. He couldn't tell his CO that because they said, well, you've obviously got PTSD, so hey, check that box. You're no longer allowed to do this, that, or the other. Here's your pill, right? He didn't want that. He looked at me and he said, Chris, I can't thank you enough because it has been cathartic for me. Just the ability to sit here and talk with you for the last 2 hours, and that's what it was. He said, it's like a verbal enema for me. And he said, I just feel like this huge weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. That's what Chris Thiesing, Bear Hill, the SBDC is all about. We're here to help in any way possible. And I had shared this at a recent workshop. I think one of the most important things for any of us as human beings is to shut up and listen sometimes.
exactly. Yeah, and lastly, before we end, could you give the website and maybe
Absolutely.
phone number
Absolutely.
one last
time?
time?
Yes, we're
Yes.
located over in RCC. That's Rockland Community College. The phone number there is 845-356-6065. Or you can reach us at New York State Small Business Development Center. All right, we have a website, SBDC. It will guide you over to our Rockland Center. We service both Rockland, Westchester, and Putnam. We do cross over with others, and we'd be happy to field your questions, your calls, and please don't hesitate.
And then anyone interested in the Wounded Warrior Recreation, how could they contact
They can
you?
call that very same number, 845-356-6065, and ask for me, and I will be able to set them up with a venue.
Oh, excellent.
All right, Dan?
Well, Chris Thiesing.
Can't thank you enough for
Thanks
helping
so
us get the word
much.
out. Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Look
and
forward to more of this
yes, exactly.
down the road in the future.
Well, everyone, this has been Christopher Thiesing, Dialogues with Dan. Have a great week. Peace.
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio. Watch and listen to what you've been missing. Broadcasting independent music, art, and culture. From the world of pop to poetry, classical to cutting edge. Movies, comedy, jazz, jams, rock and roll baby, interviews, information, and event listings. Join the revolution. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.